Well, good afternoon and welcome to Dojo Live, connecting with experts like you. My name is Carlos Ponce, and I'm joining you from Nearsoft's temporary Mexico City offices, uh, namely my home office. So, co-hosting with my Nearsoft's, and of course, Isaac Cepeda, out of our Hermosillo office. Now, for our second interview of season 4, we're going to be chatting with Rob Käll, CEO at Cien, which is a data company that helps people be more productive by means of artificial intelligence in their sales processes. So we're going to have Rob. It's a very pleasure to have you here today, Rob.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Great to be here, Carlos.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. Okay, so Rob and Jorge and Isaac, let's start with Rob, of course. Let's start with yourself, Rob. Tell us about Cien and you.
Sure. Cien is a company that we just started last year. We're super excited about it. We call it Cien because Cien, as most of you know, means 100 in Spanish, and we wanted to make something 100 times better than we had done before. And it's something that is fairly new. It's an AI first company. And by that, I mean that it's something we were trying to do, mimic human intelligence and give very meaningful and intelligent insight that you can use to improve your business. Prior to that, I had created several other startups, but they were what you would normally call SaaS companies, software as a service, and more traditional workflow automation and so forth.
Okay, thank you so much, Rob. I got my first question, and then I'm going to pass on the mic to the guys here. I know they have great questions as well. So the first question that I would like to ask you is about problem solving. What sort of problems can artificial intelligence help us solve in sales? Specific topic, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic, I forgot to mention that, is using artificial intelligence. So that's today's topic. Now, around the topic, Rob, is what sort of problems can artificial intelligence help us solve in sales?
Well, it's solving a problem related to sales productivity, and it's a problem that I had in my previous startups as I was scaling my teams. We were fortunate to be very successful, and we had to keep growing our sales team. We started with a couple of guys and ended up with close to 100. And that was all cool, except what happened was when we were adding people, the output per person per hour kept going down and down and down. And it was always something that I was wondering, why is this happening? Why is it that 10 people sell this much, but then 20 people does not sell twice as much? So that's the problem that we're solving with AI. And it's obviously a problem that has a lot of different causes.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rob. Okay, before I get all excited, because I have a lot of questions, being part of the sales and marketing team, I have a lot of questions. I'm eager to ask them, but I think I'm going to just hold it and pass on the mic to the guys here. Let's start with, you want to go ahead and continue with your question, Jorge?
Sure. I was thinking, we hear a lot about like AIs helping out and like the travel industry making it easier for travelers to like get what the prices they want to the destinations they want and stuff like that. So my question is fairly easy, and it might be because I'm a bit ignorant of the topic. That's why I'm here to learn. Which is basically, is this for an insider or for a potential client of your company? Like the AI part or portion of what you're using, is it for like your sales representative or for the customer?
No, we are a B2B software company, so we sell to other companies. Most of our customers right now are other B2B software companies that are similar to your company and others and my previous companies, in that they are selling some kind of, typically a SaaS solution, and they need to reach customers. And most of them or all of them want to improve their sales productivity. They want to reach more people and sell more per hour, or per rep, or per month, and so forth, right?
Okay.
I was just thinking about it. So what would you tell like a new client of why they should invest in using an AI for themselves? I think I'm not really there yet. So just apples and small numbers to explain it.
I'll explain more how everything works in a second, but on a very simple high level thing, it is because you can very easily get multiple percentage points increase of your sales productivity. So for example, if someone is normally selling at $100 per hour on average, we can easily move that 3, 4, 5 percentage points. And if you're doing that, then you have a tremendous ROI on that investment, because typically when you sell software, you have high gross margins, and you every single dollar that you sell extra has a tremendous profit contribution and helps you grow faster and more capital efficient.
Do you adapt your product for different clients?
Yeah, so that's one of the many things that is interesting with an AI first company and the way we're doing this stuff. But we are not trying to solve a problem for a specific client. We're trying to solve a generalized problem, just like you guys are solving a generalized problem in travel and sell a product to different companies. We do the same, but we are applying the AI model to different companies, and that's a problem that we're starting to solve right now. And it's a very challenging but also extremely exciting problem to solve. So because your business works slightly different from another business, but that's exactly what the AI is supposed to figure out. What's the difference between your business and that business? You might have a challenge in one area, that our company has a challenge in a different area. And when we can help you pinpoint those things, we can help you both grow faster.
Yeah. Did your company came up with their own models for this, or do you use models that are already created, that are available for?
No, this is all stuff that we're doing. We are.
Right.
I didn't say this before. We are. My background. I'm originally from Sweden, but I have lived and worked in the United States for the last 20 plus years. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm actually that old. But last year we decided that we're going to set up our next business in Barcelona. So right now I'm in Barcelona, and we are working with a bunch of data scientists that we have found that are from all over Europe and United States, and many of them are way smarter than myself, and they are coming up with new models that did not exist before.
Oh, that's amazing. So you have a research team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
We have several PhDs on our team, and again, it is one of those things where you go in the morning and you're just awestruck by the sheer brain power that you have on your team.
Okay, thank you, Rob and Isaac.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. For instance, in a high level, and if you can explain, how do you manage the research team? I mean, so they don't go to other objectives that are not in the rail with the vision of the company, for instance. I don't know. I mean,
how do you manage any team? You have to be do all the things that makes teamwork work. You have to have effective communication. You have to be very clear in your overall goals, and you have to make sure that you hire people that know what to do. hopefully they are, as I said, smarter than yourself, so they can add. So you're not always teaching them what to do, but instead they are coming up with solutions and so forth. But and again, we've been very fortunate with this stuff. But more on the thing in general, while we talk about being an AI first company, we are run like any other software company, just like Nearsoft or anything else. We have our release cycles, we have our a DevOps team, we have our UX designers and so forth. So those things are exactly the same as any other company. We're just trying to solve a problem slightly different from perhaps a traditional software company.
Nice. Carlos?
Well, on the little face here, this is one of the perks of working from home is that you get to see your kids. So sorry about that. Yes. Okay. I have a question, but this is about process improvement. So, Isaac, I know you're going to be asking the hard questions about the technology part, but being part of the sales team, I'm curious about something that has to do with process improvement. So, Rob, how would you say that, generally speaking, how would you say that art improves sales productivity?
Okay, so let me tell you how we are looking at this problem. I haven't given you any specifics yet, and I'm going to give you a little bit right now. Hopefully it's not too much details. But it basically comes down to this, that in today's sales is a team sport. You have a marketing team that generates leads of varying quality. Then you have, many times, people call them sales development reps or prospectors or appointment setters that are supposed to generate opportunities for you. They may cold call some people. They may call people back that have signed up on your website, and they do what we in sales and marketing call prospecting. And then you have your account executives, the people that are supposed to close the deals. And all three of them are working together. And what has been problematic when you're doing it like that is that you can only measure the final result, how much the account executive sold. But here's the truth. If account executive gets a lot of great opportunities, he's obviously going to have a lot easier time selling those opportunities versus an account executive that only gets the bottom of a barrel leads, right? And those things have not necessarily been easy or even possible to measure before. And with AI, that's exactly what we're doing.
So it's basically like improving the funnel because of what you said. By the way, I call the sales representatives stalkers just because we do that here too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll make sure that I put that as an alias in our application if you want to call it the stalker team.
No, I'm kidding. I was just trying to be funny, but it didn't work out that way. Anyway, what I was going to say is one of the big problems in marketing, I think I work for several companies, is the funnel. And one of the complaints is exactly what you just said, which is, okay, give me something to work with and I'll sell it. And the account executives are always looking for better opportunities. So it's really exciting that you can cover that need and give them better opportunities so they can sell, because sales is really like a scientific process. You need to be measuring stuff, and it's only as far as the human brain can go. So it's pretty exciting.
Right. As anybody that has been in sales and marketing knows, all leads are not created equal. If a lead comes in and has Googled your website and they are signing up on your website right now, they are aware of your product, they are aware of your brand, and they have expressed interest, and they are going to be much easier to turn into an opportunity into a closed sale than a person that you are cold calling for the first time and just telling them about your great product and they have never heard of you before. And that has been something that has been hard to measure prior, and that's exactly the problem we're solving. And then I can go in a little bit more into detail of how that whole thing works. So, but the first thing again, and I'm sorry if this is taking too long, but I just wanted to explain one more time. One sales representative sells for $100,000 in a month, and he received $50,000 worth of leads. So his value add was $50,000. Another person sold for $80,000 in a month, but he only received $20,000 worth of leads. So he created actually $60,000. So even if he sold for less, his value contribution was higher. And if you can rebalance that and give the other person a little bit more opportunity, then you can actually get overall increased throughput on your sales team. And these are the things that you can hardly ever tell just by looking at your sales KPI in Salesforce or on your dashboards. But Cien helps you do that.
So for instance, if you have a client that doesn't have this culture of getting all the data, because machine learning and artificial intelligence is all about data, they call data scientists for something. What is if that company doesn't collect the data? You consult them and put some processes in place?
Here's the ugly truth or reality or whatever. We don't have a single customer that has perfect data. Everybody has data collection issues. Everybody has people that are not updating their CRM properly. Everybody has changed methodologies midstream, and the data means something different before, you know, a specific date and so forth. And we're using AI to solve that problem too. So we are first making sure that we can trust the data, because if we take it at face value, we will always make the wrong predictions, and make sure that we truly understand what the data means, and we understand that some data is missing and needs to be completed and inconsistent and so forth. A simple example would be, for example, that the word search engine, Google and Google with 3 O's mean pretty much the same thing, and we understand that that was a lead that came in from Google or another search engine. Whereas, you know, if it says something like list or industry list or something like that, that's a different type of category and probably not as a hot of a lead. And those are the types of things that we're looking at. So that relying on, if you're an AI first company and relying on perfect data from your customers, that's going to be a very short-lived proposition. So that was one of the first problems we started addressing.
It's really hard. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, continue.
No, go ahead.
I forgot the following question.
Okay. It's not to excuse marketing teams, but it's really hard because we have a lot of data. So having someone telling us how to make that data, what data to look at, and then actually make it trustworthy, and then processing it is just a ton of work that it would take, like, I don't know, we have like a 4-person team doing that right now, and we're always trying to, like, oh, we should hire someone, or we should have an intern for this that is specialized in this specific subject. But anyway, I just want to say that, so for people who are not in marketing, we have a lot of data. Like, the funnel is immense, and it's really overwhelming sometimes. But anyway, I was wondering what sort of KPIs or key performance indicators shall we look for when we're using artificial intelligence in sales?
Right. So here's another little thing that I usually say. Most sales teams have some dashboards or spreadsheets that they are sending around, and they typically have 100 KPIs in them. And some numbers go up and some numbers go down and some numbers go sideways, right? But here's you guys all have heard the expression, you can't see the forest for all the trees. And that's really what happens with a lot of those KPIs. So I have something that is much, much easier to understand and will intuitively make sense. And that is that you look at 3 different components. You look at your lead and pipeline quality. You look at your people factors, like your reps, and then you look at your macro environment. And I'll give you some quick examples on each one. We already talked about lead and pipeline. So we look at something we call interest. And that has to do with this stuff we just talked about, where a customer comes in from Google is probably much more interested in you than a cold call from a list that you're calling out. We have fit. You know, you guys are selling to the travel industry. If a guy that has a tractor rental company calls, it's probably not the perfect fit for him. I mean, I don't know, maybe your software works for tractor rentals too, but like, it's more likely to be for travel, right? So the tractor guy might be a lower fit. You guys are selling to United States, but it might not be as good of a fit if you're selling to Japan, for example. So they could be geographic aspects. So those are some of the things on the lead side. On the people side, that's even more complicated, but also very interesting. You have aspects like a work ethic, a person that is, you know, on the phone calling all day. That's one aspect. But if he doesn't have product knowledge, which is another thing we will look at, he's going to talk gibberish to your prospects, and they're not going to want to buy from him. And then if he doesn't have the closing ability, he's not going to be able to close a deal. He's going to get a lot of deals halfway through, but then he can't close it because he can't ask for the sale and so forth. And then you have other factors such as the team mood, that we can talk a little bit more about later, because people are not unhappy salespeople don't sell as much as happy salespeople. And then you have things that I found when I went to Barcelona the first time. Seasonality, that's a macro factor. You know, I was doing great on my sales until August came and Barcelona shut down completely. And guess what? Not much happened there in that month. Another thing that you can't do much about, which is a macro factor, is your competition. You know, they will do their own thing, and all you can focus are on your lead and your people. So we call that getting a 360 view of your sales environment.
The seasonality thing is a great insight, by the way. I know people in Spain are like in vacation from July through August, and in Mexico, I think in December, everything is really laying down, or I didn't want to say dead, but everyone wants to sleep. No one wants to do business and stuff like that. That's something interesting.
Right.
And that was that that I was witnessing a difference between the results that we obtained in strategies as opposed to outbounds. So there's I'm still trying to figure out why that is, but anyway, I'm dying to that, and actually it's something about that you mentioned a few minutes ago, Rob. And this is about the team mood. So what I would like to ask you is, artificial intelligence help lift a team's performance?
Okay, so here's the truth. Artificial intelligence cannot lift the team mood. Free booze and food will lift the team mood. Better compensation will lift the team mood. But what what AI can do for you is to help you understand what affects team mood. So we ask a lot of pointed questions, and then we use data models to understand what that really means. So we don't ask how you're feeling today, because if you walk into the office this morning and you had a fight with your significant other or something like that, you probably don't feel so good. But we ask instead, how do you feel about our compensation plan? How do you feel about the tools you're receiving here at work? How do you feel about some other specific things? And then we can extrapolate that information and turn it into an aggregate team mood. And it's very, very correlated, as most seasoned sales manager knows. Team morale is correlated to the overall activity level and the results of the team. And if you have a specific issue, like for example, you have a complicated commission program that no one understands, this tool can help you pinpoint that, and then it can indirectly help you lift this team mood, but by perhaps improving that process or that particular program.
Yeah, it gives insights.
I see.
Yeah, it gives insights about a process depending on the data you feed, and make you prediction. For instance, you can, if you have the right data, you can predict whenever somebody is going to leave the company. If you have the right data, and you can see why that person is leaving, and you can see a pattern that some people are leaving, and you can make process to avoid that, and avoid that prediction. I love all that. It's very amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're such big nerds. I'm kidding.
Yeah, this is a nerd fest here.
Yeah, I know. Four of us. Talking about teams, I would like to ask another question. Where would you say that AI works best, like in individual sales processes or in like team sales?
Well, so with AI, and it sounds like you guys are very familiar with this whole thing, that AI is driven by data. So the more data you have, the better predictions you can make. And we're already collecting, we're a young company, but we're already collecting millions of data points on an ongoing basis. And with that, we can build up the patterns and see the thing. And that's what, to be even nerdy for a second, we basically do what data scientists call regressions. We look at all of these different patterns, we feed them into our machine learning thing, and we find the expected outcome, and that becomes a prediction. And what's amazing about it is that when that pattern repeats in the data, we already know what that means. So we know, for example, how much you're going to sell at the end of the month, even if it's only 2 days into the thing, because we can see the patterns that lead to a specific result at the end of the month. So more data is better, but we also have tools that are specific for the individual team member, because their behavior is also, somewhat pattern driven. If you're not doing a lot of prospecting and your pipeline is going down, guess what? You're not going to sell a lot later. And we can tell that perhaps faster than even a seasoned sales executive can see, because you can see the patterns of activity going down and so forth ahead of when it actually comes in and hurts you at the end of the quarter or whatever.
So, for instance,
Okay.
do you
Okay,
provide
Zach,
like
go
a
ahead.
dashboard or something like as a product to make all these decisions, or you do it like a consulting team that
No,
says
no.
what?
Again, we mentioned this a couple of times. As an AI first company, we are essentially trying to do this completely as a product. We do have some services we do for clients that have very specific data analysis leads, but we always try to turn it into a repeatable process and part of our core technology. And we're presenting it as a mobile app. So we have another thing that business software is changing. People do not want to go to training for 2 weeks to learn a new software system anymore. They want to have it on their phone. We want to give the sales executive a thing that just like he can use all these other apps on his phone, he can check it first thing in the morning on his way into work and see, hey, what do I need to do today? And then, when he comes back from lunch, he checks it again and sees, hey, how did it go? And what else is done? And that can be very tactical things, stuff that you need to do this afternoon, like calling some customers that have fallen through the cracks or whatever. And it can be much more long-term things that have a much bigger impact, like addressing a team mood issue or a lack of training in a specific group or a specific product.
Okay, nice.
There you have it, Isaac. Thank you, Rob. Rob, one question here. By the way, just if anybody out there who's watching, or either now or will be watching this episode is uploaded and embedded onto the website, if you have any questions for Rob, you can just send them over on Twitter, which is right here, dojo.live. So our Twitter handle is right here at dojo.live. Send your questions. We'll read them back to Rob, and he can respond live.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Back to so we'll keep an eye on that, Rob, and I'll fill you in if we got something here from the audience. So, my question here is the following: as we're in sales and marketing, we're kind of trying to keep an eye on the low-hanging fruits. So, how can artificial intelligence assist us in telling us which fruits are hanging lower than the others?
Okay, I'm going to try to explain this stuff in as non-nerdy way as possible.
Okay.
Once we can predict what's going to happen, and I talked about that a second ago. We do that, right? We take all these inputs, we have the 360 view, and we can predict how much you're going to sell and so forth. The second thing we can do is to vary various variables and see what happens if we are improving team mood, or if we are addressing the poor product knowledge, or if we can get a little bit better quality leads and so forth. And then when you can see that, then you can get a new value, and you can essentially see what the difference is between the prior state, your current state, and an improved state. And then we can help you, hey, this is difficult, training the entire team to be much better when they're already pretty well trained. That might be very costly, and it may not yield a big impact. Whereas addressing, a very poor marketing channel and stop spending money on that one and shifting it to one that performs much better is an easy, decision that you can do in a week and see results a few days later after that, right? So that's exactly why we call it finding the low-hanging fruit.
So much, Rob. Back to you for Rob. Jorge, you're on mute.
No,
You're muted.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What were you saying?
Was that a question
I'm
for
sorry.
me or no?
No, okay. My internet was a bit shaky.
So you were. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, well, I don't know if you got that part, Jorge, but I asked Rob the questions about how AI could help us identify which fruits were hanging lower than others, responding about that. So you were not able to grasp the response, right?
Yeah, what I was wondering is what sort of variables might, for example, your company Cien or an AI encounter when receiving data regarding which deals close or not, that could turn into roadblocks in the sales process, and how can we overcome them? Like, what kind of things could this technology warn us about when we're about to close a sale?
That's a great question. So I'll give you a very concrete example. When you're doing complex sales for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's not a single buyer. You may have to talk to 3 or 4 or 7 people, depending on the type of product you're selling and so forth. And we have found that in particular company, a particular pattern reemerges. Like, for example, they're selling some type of financial tool. They may have to both talk to the CFO of the company and to the head of IT, right? Because they are both going to be stakeholders in this. And there's patterns around who needs sign off. And then we can look at the deal itself from their CRM data and other sources. And we can see that, hey, in this particular case, they have not yet had a chance to present to the CFO because there are no activities related to the CFO. And then we know that that probably is going to be a red flag. If it is a small deal for $5,000, perhaps that doesn't matter. But if they're trying to sell a $500,000 deal, they probably need to get that guy, and we can help them pinpoint that. So that's a very simple example.
There you have it, Jorge.
Thank you, Rob, again.
I was mute again. What I was going to say is it can direct you to the right person. And okay, that's really interesting.
And just to expand a little bit more on that stuff, the challenge with this stuff, trying to do it in a spreadsheet or something like that, is that the data, as we just talked about, is never consistent. The CFO in one company is called CFO. In another company, his name is controller. The third guy company, it's head of finance. And they are all, more or less the same person, and it's the person you need to talk to. And that's where AI can help you understand that pretty much means the same thing, and that the IT director and the VP of information systems are perhaps also similar type of roles, right?
Yeah, they could be the decision makers. It's sort of a scavenger hunt. You need to be looking at what's the name for the role, and then what kind of company, because sometimes it's really murky who gets to make the sales decision. Sometimes I've encountered that it's the legal department for some reason who gives the last step. It can be complicated.
Right. And that's nice. Where AI can help you solve a lot of those problems.
I think we're going to have a talk after this.
Well, we're talking now.
No, I was saying like to make some sort of deal. We'll talk about it.
Well, that sounds great. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Isaac. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, let's see. In the final minutes of today's interview. So I think I don't have any more questions. I mean, I'm sure more are going to pop up as long to navigate the site and pretty much everything. So, well, the only thing left for me to do is ask you, Rob, if you have any final words, audience, and of course, how the audience can reach out to you. So.
Well, first again, thank you all 3 of you guys for a very nice chat and an opportunity to be on dojo.live. Anybody wants to connect with me, you can either do it through LinkedIn, Rob Käll, LinkedIn/Robert Käll, or Twitter, same thing, /Robert Käll. My company, as you can see on the screen there, is Cien.ai, and we are right now running a preview program that has very discounted rates for this type of technology. It's for all companies that are using Salesforce, have at least 5 salespeople, and are selling some type of B2B software solution. So if you are interested in that, go to our site, cien.ai, and you'll find more information about that.
I love that you
Perfect. Yes.
I love that you have the .ai domain. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
It was a little cheaper than to buy in the .com.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and just for the Rob info is going to on dojo.live's website on the page, and it's going to be this interview, the interviews menu right there at the very top on the left-hand side. So look for that. Once we're there, you can always just watch the time at your convenience, and all the info is going to be in there on all possible and respond directly. So I sincerely hope that this gets a lot of traction for you, Rob. You have been very kind for having been with us today. And of course, you and I are going to be in touch about a whole bunch of other stuff that is very relevant. What at least Jorge and I are doing. So with that being said, the only thing left for me to do, Rob, is just send you a big warm thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So Jorge and Isaac, any final words for Rob?
Thank you for your time. I'm sorry my connection was a bit choppy, but it was really interesting, and I hope more people get into the AI wagon. I think it's something that might help a lot of marketing and sales team.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay.
Okay.
One from
Thanks,
Barcelona.
everyone. And a big thank you to Barcelona, all the way across the pond to Barcelona. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.